on the floor. And if you would give your name and where you live, please. Who would like to go first?
Eric Bondhorst,
Sir?
2424 State Route 79, Harpswell. The report from Dick Bassler, has it come forth on that house? The engineering report?
Down in Center Village.
We understand that the house did sell at auction, so there is a new owner. To this point, we've been unable to determine who the owner is, but I'm assuming that the inspection stands with the house, and I have yet to see a copy of the report, and I'd like to know if that's possible.
Certainly it is.
That last month.
I haven't received anything from Mr. Bassler in regards to the report there.
We was told that you got an email.
Certainly not the Lang thing, as far as I know.
I haven't gotten anything from Mr. Madden.
Somebody commented last month that there would be an answer that we would have this month, and that he had stated in the report that the foundation was crumbling and that the house had to come down. But now what happens is it's gone to auction. That's what we're wondering.
So
I
made the comment, I went to the town of Fenton town board with Dick as the engineer, and I pulled him aside after the meeting, and I had a talk with him about it. And he said he'd be giving you some feedback via email.
That's what he told me.
Okay, so.
We just keep
Yeah.
waiting.
Okay, then we would request
I'm going-
maybe you put a little pressure on him to.
I'll see him next
Because
Wednesday.
now that there's a new owner, we're back in the game again.
Yeah, and probably not immediately upon the sale, where they take the bid, but within a matter of days or weeks,
You're
they'll do a
closing.
transfer.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, and that's really good news for everybody
Oh,
because,
I think so.
as you know, we got the answer from the county where they were not gonna do anything. So if there's a private owner, we get Dick Bassler's report, from that point, we can move ahead, just like everybody
Well, I applaud
suggested.
everything that we've done here. I mean, you guys did a great job, and now that there is a new owner, and now there's a new responsibility, and we're looking forward to.
They done it after he's done it. And the auctioneer said, you should have, before you start bidding on this, you should go and look at this property. Make sure that you want it.
Yeah, so whoever
I'm
purchased it,
just
he should be aware.
We understand your concern, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Additional comments?
Carol Martin, I live in Center Village. I'd like to bring it up again about the resolution 5912 that was passed in May 3rd at the end of the meeting. I'm concerned that a lot of the people never really heard anything about it, and that the area people this is a big hot topic, and they should all be involved in this decision. And also, I didn't get this paper until after the meetings were posted in June 7th meeting for May, and at the bottom I see it says that make sure the municipalities in Broome and Shenango counties are reviewing the same resolution, and it needs to be to the governor by the end of the month. So when we spoke about it in June, it was a done deal. And all of you had told me that there was no really big deal in all of this, and that's not a truth. That's when the governor came out with his recommendation that we frack Broome, Tioga, all those lower counties. And you had mentioned to me that perhaps we could rescind this.
We can at any time.
Well, I think we should rescind this. I think that we need more public information. I think that the people within the town deserve to have better representation as far as their concerns about hydrofracking. There's a lot of us that are really worried about it. We don't want you to say, no, we shouldn't be concerned, or that, yes, we should be able to have a ban. I mean, perhaps, what if we do want a ban? I think we should have a ban.
Okay, what does the resolution say?
It says a lot of different things. It says, therefore let it be resolved that we, the undersigned, find the pursuit of a ban or moratorium to be an irresponsible and premature misallocation of town resources, pending the release of the state's final sGEIS.
So basically it says, we won't do anything until the state says what they will do.
Well, I'm also concerned that this was not put on the agenda. You did have this in your hand when you walked in the door last time, on May 3rd. there were other resolutions on the agenda and in your paperwork, but they were not put in. You could have spoke up and put it in the agenda, but you didn't, and you waited until everybody left.
No, I
And then you
waited
brought it
until
up.
the general discussion when it was appropriate to bring up something.
It wasn't appropriate to put it in the resolution, or were the other resolutions that you were approving?
If I had been able to have it to Ed by Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever, yes, I could have.
Well, I'm concerned that the whole townspeople, didn't know a clue about this. And I see that this resolution has also been through all the other little towns and municipalities, slipped in at the end of their meetings, more or less. And,
Windsor's, it was on their,
I don't know, perhaps it was. I know there was one townsperson, but it seems to me that there should be more information out to the public on such a hot topic. To me, I think it should be rescinded until all these, concerns are addressed. We have 4 or 5 people on the board, obviously you're all for hydrofracking, but I think that we should, there's a lot of people in town that don't want to be hydrofracked. We all have a little tiny piece of the heaven. And I would really like you to discuss it a little bit more, and perhaps rescind it, and at least until we can all talk about it.
I think whether or not we rescinded it, it's been a done deal for months and months and months. No matter what we think, what we do, it's a done deal with capital letters. Money speaks. And that's what it amounts to as far as I can say. So what you and I do is not going to affect it unless a lot of people come out not only to this meeting, but to the county and the state meetings to put pressure on.
I think when Broome County they were trying to lease their properties, they found a lot of people concerned with the fact that they wanted to lease Broome County properties for drilling. And I'm sure that if you had let this information out previously, there have been a lot of people here. And also, I can't see where you can think it's a done deal. Why can't we have a band in our town? We would like to have a band just like the other municipalities. It's not a done deal for them. And it seems to me that if this had to go to the governor by the end of the month, how come on the 13th he turned around and said, okay, I've got confirmation from all these little municipalities that they want to be fracked, and so I guess I'm going to do it. So this seems like something done by the JLCNY to tell the governor that we all agree that it's okay to frack in Broome County.
Sure.
Yeah, my name is Stanley Luck. I'm going to ask, I don't know who is in charge of knowing the laws, how the board runs, but is there room for a petition to get this rescinded? If we were people who are concerned with a petition, if there is such a thing, how many names would you need, and so on? Can we get some comment on that?
I mean, I can comment. There is no, this vote, that resolution is not subject to a referendum vote, so there's no.
No, I wasn't saying anything about referendum, a petition to get you to rescind it.
No, and I hadn't finished. And so it's not something like a referendum, so there isn't any percentage or number of people in a petition that can override the town board. Certainly, if there was a petition, I think that's what Ed was trying to say, is if there was a petition, it would certainly be something that this board would look at. Even if there's not a petition, I think what Ed is saying is this board will listen to anybody that comes in and speaks whatever the issue is, pro or con on any issue, and the board's always willing to listen. But it's going to take, a large number of people, I think, for any resolution to be voted upon to be rescinded.
I'd like to say a few more things if I could. One is to just announce that I believe, and I could be wrong about this, that 2 of the 4 members of the board are up for re-election this fall. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, okay. And so that's important for us who are concerned about such things to evaluate our representation. Another thing is that, and nobody seems to want to talk about it at all, every morning an Elmhurst dairy truck goes by my house with milk. taking milk from various farms around, batching that milk together so that if there were contamination in one well or one pond that cows are drawing milk from, and I understand lactating cows drink 30 gallons of milk or so a day.
Water.
I'm sorry, not milk, but water a day. And that milk is being batched so that if my milk is contaminated, your milk will be contaminated too. And it's going to many places, including Elmhurst Dairy, which is in New York City, which is the largest supplier of milk to the city of New York. Not to the city, but to the school district of New York City. That's, to me, a very big concern, that you'd want to be very, very sure that nothing happens, not only to the children of New York City, but also to the farmers here, who, some of whom are for fracking, some against, but they could be vulnerable, all could be vulnerable too. Final thing is that I understand that there's supposed to be a conflict of interest law in the state of New York, and that all villages, such as this village, is subject to that law. Now, I saw on the website that Mr. Windsor is an official of the, I forget the name of the organization. What is it?
JLCNY.
JLCNY.
Oh, that's
Now,
incorrect.
and he introduced the resolution, from what I understand, and I just wonder if we could get a ruling from, are you the attorney for the town?
I am.
Maybe a ruling on whether his introducing that or voting on it might be a violation of the conflict of interest law. Each municipality, each village is supposed to have written into its own bylaws such a conflict of interest law, so I think that should be looked into.
I go back to the resolution. The resolution was neither for nor against gas drilling or hydrofracking. So you have to start there. And then each of the board members has to look at whether they have a direct conflicting interest in the vote. And I certainly don't see it. But each of the board members have to make their own analysis, no matter what the resolution is that comes up meeting after meeting. And, you know, if nobody raises, if nobody, I hadn't finished yet. But if none of those things come up, and this board in particular discusses, you know, the resolutions and talks about them, so if there was even a potential, even a hint of a conflict of interest, that would have been discussed. But I really don't see one.
Well, I mean, I have here, I see Mr. Windsor, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting it. Glenn Windsor, he's right on the top of this Windsor and Colesville Gas Coalition application, so he's obviously interested. Now, whether he's personally interested or not, I don't know. Maybe he's a volunteer on this organization and has no personal interest in this. I don't know. You'd have to ask him that question, but I think somebody should. And the law says, under Article 18, local codes of ethics must include standards for disclosure by the municipality's officers and employees of their interest in the legislation before the municipality's governing body. And it seems fairly clear that if Mr. Windsor has an interest, he should be required to disclose any potential interest he might have.
To demonstrate to you, the rest of the people, that we were not trying to hide anything under the table, I'd be happy if we had a majority of people within the township that ask us to hold a hearing, a public hearing, whether we're for or against. We can send it to the county and the state. I don't have a problem with that.
That's great. I think that's a
You know,
good idea.
you are not the majority sitting here.
We
I
can
don't
look
think.
at that.
Well,
You
one
might be a
problem
majority, you know, silent majority.
One problem I've seen, Carol Fedora and I have been coming to the meetings for about a year. And sadly before that, I wasn't taking that much interest, but I've had more time, and so I've been quite interested. And I don't see people showing up at these meetings. You know, some of us get quite interested in what's happening and going on and so on, and just get 10 or 12 of us here each month. You know, I think the public should be more involved with what's happening in our town. Why they're not interested, I don't know.
I couldn't agree with you more. Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is William Houston. I live in the town of Union. I've been up here before. I've recorded some of these meetings before. I cover the shale gas drilling issue in a very large area. So one thing is the attorney said that this resolution, I believe, correct me if I state this wrong, this resolution is neutral. It's neither for nor against. Or I think it was you, sir, the supervisor, that said that as well. It's neutral. Is that right? Okay, so my public comment, you don't want to engage in a response. That's okay. So what I would say is, first of all, there's a couple of points I would like to make. One is the DEC will not protect us. And my authority in stating this is that there were a total of 11 DEC hearings on the sGEIS, 11 total hearings. 8 were sponsored by the DEC. I think I was the only person that attended them all. I'm very well versed in the sGEIS, the controlling document. And I will tell you, there are dozens of show-stopping flaws with the sGEIS. I could name just 3, just off the top of my head. One is there's no health impact assessment. None. Period. There's no comprehensive cumulative impacts in terms of socioeconomic impacts, in terms of quality of life impacts. Not in there. There's no wastewater plan. There's not to deal with the volumes of waste fluid. So just 3. There's actually a list. My friend Jerry Wiley from Owego wrote a list of 101 flaws with the sGEIS. That's the biggest list that I know. But there's several lists of flaws. I encourage you to go out and look for the sGEIS flaws. The DEC cannot protect us according to the existing regulatory documents. It's absolutely pathetic. Now, the next thing is, this industry is inherently toxic. I was talking with Mr. Windsor, the Honorable Mr. Windsor over here earlier about this fact that, you know, there's a claim, I keep hearing the claim, safe and responsible drilling, but I would ask, where is that occurring? This industry has left a toxic legacy wherever it has gone. It is inherently unsafe. Let me give you an example relating to the penal law. Rape causes injury in every case. It is prohibited by penal law based on the general police powers of the state to protect the health and safety of their people. Murder causes injury in every case. It is prohibited by penal law because for the health and safety of the people under the general police powers. There is a movement underway in New York State right now to criminalize this activity because it causes injury in every case. It is akin to murder and rape, and we're talking about permitting it. 70,000 injection wells. That's what's projected for New York. 70,000. Each one of these wells is by definition an injection well, putting toxic chemicals. 1 per square mile, covering this whole area, this whole place. So, and then I read this resolution. Now, therefore, it be it resolved that we, the undersigned, find pursuit of a ban or moratorium to be irresponsible. What? Irresponsible. This two different state Supreme Court justices in New York have ruled that a town has the right to ban. And you're saying, we're not going to protect our people. By this declaration, this proclamation, we're not going to protect our people, and you're calling the protection irresponsible? I think that is really, I'm having trouble understanding that. The only prudent, I've studied this issue, I've been around the state, I am an authority on this issue to a certain degree, and I would tell you, I would argue with you, I would plead with you and beg you to pass a moratorium or a ban, This is the only prudent thing you can do to protect the health and safety of the people of Colesville, and that is your duty. Thank you.
Sir. I have one question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been on public TV or private TV to voice your concerns?
I have a public access show on Channel 4 in Binghamton. It reaches 70,000 homes. I don't know if it comes to Colesville or not.
But in addition to having access, have you ever gone on TV to present your views? They sound very coherent.
Well, what I would say is those TV stations are closed to the public. They don't allow public access. They play network programming nearly 24 hours a day. They do this segment called the news, but that's not public access. I'm working with WSKG right now. There's a little crack that's opened up. I've been trying to get a TV show on WSKG for about 10 years. You get WSKG out here, right? The public station? Classical and jazz. What member of the public is demanding they play 60 hours of classical music every week on one station and 80 hours of jazz per week on the other station? The media is closed to the people's voice, not just me. It's closed to his voice, her voice, his voice. It's closed. I would like to get on the media and talk about this, but it's closed to us. We can't even buy access. We can't. That's the truth. That's the reality of the media system. So it's very fortunate that we do have public access TV. That's the only outlet we have. I would ask you to think about passing at least a moratorium.
Because there are two sides to every story, as you well know, two sides to every coin. We're certainly willing to listen
Thank you.
and act accordingly. Yes, sir.
I don't want to monopolize if there are others who want to speak. Okay. I was wondering if in terms of research, whether there needs to be a study. People talk about how much money can come in to Broome County and to the town of Colesville if we, allow fracking and so on. Are we doing any research on how much wealth will be leaving compared to how much will stay behind? That's one thing. How much wealth will actually be drawn out of the earth here and be leaving compared to how much wealth will stay behind? I realize we're talking big numbers of staying behind, but my guess is we're talking astronomical numbers that'll be leaving. So that's one side of the economics. The other side of the economics is the environmental costs for me personally, my well, my neighbor's well, lactating cows who need lots and lots of water and so on, those kind of problems. So I just wonder if this town or Broome County or even the state of New York has done an estimate of how much wealth is going to be taken from New York State, particularly from the southern tier, compared to how much these companies are going to leave behind. So, and just as a side note, a footnote to that, the guy who was the head of Chesapeake, and my property had a lease with Chesapeake. The guy's the head of Chesapeake has now been found out to be a scoundrel. I mean, he's, most, I think a lot of people here probably know, he's been in the news, in the Wall Street Journal and so on, because he took money or something like he wasn't supposed to take, whatever. So we're dealing not with savory characters, and we need to keep that in mind, that their promises are maybe not good promises.
I don't know, but as a point of interest, can we assume that each and every one of you have written a letter to your county legislator and your state expressing your feeling? Would you raise your hand if you've written a letter?
I haven't done it yet, Greg.
What is it?
That's a minority. Yeah, Counselor Twice.
My name is Linda Doubleevich, and I live at 2868 Route 7 in Harpersville. And for 21 years, I've been growing produce and selling it locally. I'm very concerned about what's going to happen to our environment, our groundwater. I think that it looks good on paper that we're going to make a lot of money, but the actuality is that we're going to lose so much. I mean, contaminated groundwater, all the pollution from all the people traveling back and forth with those big tanker trucks on Route 7. Our roads are gonna be destroyed, and they're gonna find gas, and then they're gonna leave, and we're stuck with holding the bill for all the contamination and all of the problems with the roads and the highways and people being sick. I'm really concerned about this. It's very, I had a well at my former property, 2 houses up from where I am now. The local Huff Ice Cream was across the street, and they put in a new septic tank, and our 2 wells on our property were contaminated from that. So I put in a well that was 400 feet deep because I wanted to make sure we had healthy water. My children were very small. And we got natural gas in the water, and it was like hell. I mean, we couldn't run water in the house. You could light a match in my bathroom if you had the shower on, and it would glow. My husband lost his eyelashes and eyebrows from it. It's not a fun thing. I'm so afraid that I'm going to have to live through that again, and I don't want to have to live like that. It's scary, very scary. I mean, one way I had to use a well that had coliform bacteria, and in another way I had to use a well that could blow my house up. I just don't really want to have to live through that a second time in my life. And it's so cavalier of everyone to say how wonderful this is. I don't see anything wonderful about it. My aunt has property down in Pennsylvania. They put wells in near her, and it's been nothing but problems for her. Big, heavy equipment going by. I just don't want to have to live through that here. And if it means I have to go door to door and get petitions, I'll do petitions. If it means that I have to educate all the people around here about how bad things are, I guess I'll have to go door to door and do that. But we gotta leave this place in a good shape for our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren and the children to come. You can't do this. It's just not right for instant bucks and for people that are going to be giving up their farms and going to Florida or whatever. It's fine for them. They're going to have money in their pocket for a few minutes. But the rest of us that plan on staying, and I plan on staying till the very end because I love this part of the state. I'm not leaving. My family's been here since 1803, and I'm not going anywhere. So I'm a little bit embarrassed by the fact that you snuck this in. If I had known, I would have been here at the last meeting. I would have liked to have participated then, and it's not easy for me.
I don't think if you were here 2 weeks ago or a month ago when it was passed, it would have made one bit of difference for the board. We did not, at least I did not see
I'm sorry, I can't hear you very well, and it sounds to me like
up.
you keep saying that
No.
it's a done deal, and it's not done.
It was done as far as we were concerned at that point in time, what we acted upon. What we acted upon did not make them do it or not do it.
He's talking about the resolution.
Oh,
He's talking
okay.
about the resolution.
Yeah, I don't know
Then why did it have to
why
go
you
to the
did it
governor?
sneaky like that. I mean, it looks like it was done in a sneaky way to me because people were not aware that it was not on the agenda, and people didn't have time to get here. If I had known that it was on the agenda, I would have been here. And I just don't think that it's right. I lived through the Oatman era. I don't want to go through that again. I want everything to be out in the open. I want us all have a fair chance to have our say.
We do also. We do also.
Okay?
Now, have you written DEC with your concerns?
Have I written where?
DEC.
The DEC? I don't trust them one bit. I've been through a lot with the DEC. I don't trust them at all. They don't have our best interests in mind, as far as I can see anywhere.
So the answer to my question is, no, you have not written DEC.
Not the DEC. I've written the governor. I've written my senators. But I haven't written the DEC. Like I said, I don't trust the DEC. They like to railroad us pretty good.
What reply did you get from your state senator?
I haven't gotten anything yet.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Shelley London. The concern that I see here, even though I personally do not support hydrofracking, the concern and the disappointment I have is that I feel insulted that you knew it was a hot topic. You're all telling me that it doesn't mean anything. If it doesn't mean anything, why did you do it? It clearly means something to someone, or you wouldn't have taken your time. This says something. This says you have confidence the state will develop a program that allows development of our natural gas resources. This says something. It happens to contradict what I believe, but I'm trying very hard to separate those two issues. It happens to be a topic that is widely controversial. But another point that I don't want you as a board to overlook is that as a taxpayer, a landowner, someone who grew up here, as a professional, I am insulted that you did not allow us our voice. You say that we have a voice, but we're not allowed to use it if we don't know about things. I'm a working mom. I'm a teacher. I have 2 kids. I left the Little League field to come here because I knew it was on the agenda. If I don't know about it, I can't speak up. I know many people here in this town. Not everybody agrees with my opinions, but I don't feel that this was done out in the open. And I certainly believe that it means something. We would be foolish to think otherwise.
Thank you. It certainly was done in the open. We did not go into an executive session. It was done here in the public in a matter of record.
But in a matter of minutes, like I didn't know you were going to do it. Nobody knew you were going to do it. It says that one other person was here. And I've been to meetings. I've been to several meetings. And I've been to meetings where I'm the only one left. And I understand that you could say, well, the meetings aren't well attended. I get that. I do. I'm a busy person. I certainly cannot come to every meeting. I feel like maybe you could update the website, put it out there in communications, hey, put your agenda online. I could check it. We could work together, regardless of the issue. This happens to be a very controversial issue, but I think you could work on things with communication for all issues. And having an agenda online is a simple and easy way to communicate to people. Now, I don't happen to live in an area that can get internet, ironically, but I can get it on my phone. So I think that's a simple, easy, cost-free, teeny tiny little thing that you could do as a board to show people that you are out in the open on every topic, not just this one. And I do feel that people's comments need to be heard at the local level. I hear you saying, you know, did you write to your senator? Did you contact the DEC? I personally have done all those things, and I feel like I have no voice. But it doesn't concern me as much. When I feel like I have no voice in my own town, that's insulting. The town that I grew up in, where I sent my kids to school, that's insulting. Plain and simple.
Well, I think we acted that evening for the same reason that you at the state level, the county level, as a courtesy to one of our members who asked if you could, you know, introduce it that evening. We certainly, as far as I was concerned, did not have something under the table. The reason we said yes, we'll take it up. And if we did wrong, then I apologize.
I think it's a trust issue. Like I'm embarrassed. Like when I read it in the paper, I knew that not everybody would agree with my opinions, and that's really not even the point. It's just that it passed. I mean, we all know that everybody has a personal stake in whether we do or whether we don't. I happen to live on 1 acre of property that's completely, other than the road access, it's a horseshoe shaped by farm fields. I don't agree with hydrofracking, but it will literally surround my life. So I feel like to avoid even the appearance of impropriety and even the appearance of conflict of interest, maybe the board needs to work extra hard when it comes to this issue and hold itself to a higher standard when it comes to this issue for open communication with the public.
You know that the majority of towns passed the same resolution that was introduced.
But I live here.
Pardon me?
I live here. If the majority of towns passed it, then that's their town. I feel like I should have a voice in my
Something
town.
we just did here. The majority of towns passed that same resolution, the identical resolution.
Does that make it right?
I'm not saying it makes it right. I'm just saying we were not the only town that did it.
sounds like a coordinated effort by an organization if everybody passed the exact same wording, right?
I don't deny that.
Oh, it was.
Then it means something though. I mean, I think it's obvious that you and I would probably disagree, but it does mean something, or else your organization or any organization wouldn't take the time to write it. It means something, and it was passed, and I would ask that you rescind it and that you listen to more people and put it out to the public on your website, or however you want to do it, to come, and so you can hear people talk about this.
Like I said initially, I have no problem calling a meeting, a special meeting just for that, pros and cons, none whatsoever.
But I think you should rescind this because when you say that it doesn't mean anything, I don't trust that. I'll be completely honest. It says something. If it didn't say anything, we wouldn't use the word resolution. Resolutions mean something. They are resolute.
If it didn't mean anything, why would you send it to the governor by the end of the month?
Yeah, what's he using it for?
Can I speak up? I'm here for a different business, and I completely understand there's a lot of tension, a lot of different sides and issues to the matter. But at this point, we're all repeating ourselves and badgering the board, and they're saying the same responses back to us as a crowd. Does everybody hear each other's sides? What are we going to do different? Because right now, nothing's changing. So if we could, like, I would love to move on. And I know it's very important to all of you. I just purchased property here as well. It concerns me now, too. But we're repeating ourselves at this point.
Okay, so I have personally asked, and I'm sure other people have asked you to rescind this. So your answer can be yes, we will, or your answer can be no, we will not. That's the question.
Absolutely.
Now we need an answer.
I wouldn't mind rescinding it. It's perfectly all right. Since it really, to me, just said that, let DEC do its thing, and when we got the report, we'll take a look and see, whether we're for or against. So I would say we rescind it, but, never bring it up again, or just don't bring it up again, since apparently what we thought it said and what you all saw it said was a little different. And so it's fine with me.
In other words, with the decision will not, or has not been made by DEC at this point, we know that. But that's when the final word will come through.
That's true.
Steve, you comment?
For rescinding it? I'm not really for rescinding it now.
The whole meeting I'm talking about.
Oh, the whole meeting we can hold a public hearing. But that's generally for laws, not resolutions. I'll do whatever, I'll go on.
So when do we get our voice, if that's just for laws? When do we get our voice?
You getting it right now?
But I'm getting it after the fact, right? I mean, I know this is a hot topic, and I'm trying to really separate them, and I'm trying to speak respectfully, and I'm trying to speak and so that we can work through it, as you're saying. But I got my voice after the fact, and that I don't want that to be a trend.
But once the law is passed, you have the right to bring it up to the board again, right? The state law, if you read the resolution, wait a minute, if you, I'd like to say something, please. So when the state does pass it, you have the right to bring that back up to the board and ask us to ban it, right? We didn't say we're never going to ban it. We said until the state passes the law, we're not going to prematurely ban it. And I don't see an issue with that. I really don't.
I would just like to say something here, and I did hear your comments too, so I will try to make this something new. But Mr. Mosher, I'm going to direct my comments to you because you seem like a thoughtful man. I just want to read you a short paragraph. Governor Andrew Cuomo, his administration is pursuing a plan to limit the controversial drilling method known as hydraulic fracturing to portions of several struggling New York counties along the border with Pennsylvania, and to permit it, only in communities that express support for the technology. So essentially, what you did by passing that resolution was to speak for all of us in saying you support this. And there are 5 of you. As I understand it, there are approximately 55 100 residents in the town of Colesville. Does that sound right to you? This was put out by whoever is behind the Joint Landowners Coalition of New York. It might have come from Thomas West's law firm in Albany. It might have come from the governor's office. He might have already had a plan in mind and then sent out this resolution because you were one of many townships that received this exact same resolution. And you think it's neutral?
No.
We don't think it's neutral. That's all I have to say.